Hey guys, Fox here. I wanted to do something that was other than a pickup video, Game Gods video. So I want to go back. I've played quite a few games since I last filmed my top 10 video games of all time. And thought it would be fun to revisit that, see how it's changed. Some titles have stayed within the top 10. Some have moved out because there has been some new arrivals. And I just wanted to go ahead and talk about some of my favorite games of all time. But I'm going to start it off with a few honorable mentions, as I really do enjoy these games. And want to show them off to you. So first off, let's go with Baldur's Gate 3. A game I really, really enjoyed. As a lot of you longtime viewers of my channel know, I'm a pretty big fan of the Divinity games, specifically Divinity 2. Larian Studios puts together some awesome RPGs, and when they announced that they were going to go into the realm of Dungeons and Dragons, I was kind of excited. A little skeptical at first, but then they said that they're adding their, tactical combat that's familiar to those who played Divinity into Baldur's Gate 3. And then I was very intrigued because Divinity 2, I believe, was on my top 10 list the last time I did one of these. Spoiler, I don't think it's on the list this time. Barely got beat out. But I wanted to talk about Baldur's Gate 3 and some of the things that really impressed me in this, that kind of put it a little above Divinity 2, is just the characters, the development, the voice actors, the story. It was just so good. I really enjoyed it. You had some A+ voice acting in this game. The combat was a lot of fun. This game got me to play it twice, including an honor mode run that I completed this year with a buddy of mine. Lots of fun. Absolutely love Baldur's Gate 3. Another honorable mention, we'll have to go to one of my favorite Zelda games of all time, and that is A Link to the Past. Really fell in love with this game when I first played it. I believe I borrowed it from a neighbor and just played it until I beat it, probably in a matter of a couple weeks. But as a kid, I grew up playing the other two Zelda games, both the NES ones. Never really liked 2. Loved 1. I remember doing a lot of play on number 1 and calling my uncle, who used to play it as well, and I'd get some tips from him of what he put on the map, and then my mom would talk to him and try to replicate over the phone the map for the original game. So Zelda holds a special place. I generally play them all. They're not typically my favorite games of all time, but I really do enjoy Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. I can't say a whole lot. I love the music. I still hum the tunes to this day. I liked all the items. The dungeon difficulties were perfect in my opinion. And I'm always a big fan of the top view old school Zelda over the 3D Zelda. I've played a lot of the 3D Zeldas and I enjoyed them. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom were good. They're just not my favorite. I prefer these top-down styles. When they released Link Between Worlds on the 3DS, I was super excited because that's pretty much kind of a sequel to this one. Really enjoyed that one as well. And last honorable mention is going to go to Hades. Love Hades. Always been a Supergiant Games fan. I've played all their titles ever since Bastion. Liked what they did with their art style, their gameplay mechanics, their music. Everything was always enjoyable. But when Hades came out, I was a little skeptical because I was kind of not really in the mood for an action type game, That's pretty much all I got to play from them. And I was like, am I burned out on this? Do I want to play something different? Do I really wish they would do a turn-based RPG? or a puzzle game or something like that. And I kind of waited a little bit to play this game. And then I was just like, you know what? No, screw it. I've got to play it. I love what Supergiant puts out. I shouldn't question it. And man, I was right there. This is one of the best games of all time. Didn't quite make it in my list. I was trying to shoehorn it in there somewhere, and I just the other games kind of just pushed it out. But anyway, what I love about this is even like almost 200 hours in this game, and I'm still unlocking little bits of story or character development and stuff like that. You just can play it over and over again. One of the best roguelites ever. And very excited that I'm currently playing slowly through Hades 2. I just do a few runs at a time, then I'll put it away, play some other games. But that's kind of what I did with this one too. But anyway, I just love their approach to these Greek gods. And your escape from Tartarus, from the realm of Hades. And that roguelites became one of my favorite genres probably because of this game. I bought a lot of other ones and played more and more. But anyway, I don't want to talk too much about the honorable mentions because I need to save my words for the actual top 10. All right. Number 10 is going to a game I've played on many systems, on a phone, on a computer, on the Switch, PlayStation. I love this game. I will keep playing it even to this day, and it came out many years ago. Let me look at the back of this cartridge here, or the back of the box rather. 2019 it says, but I think it came out before then. I think it was 2018. But anyway, it's Slay the Spire. When a game has this much replayability and can draw me in just to build new decks to try to, slay the Spire, I gotta give it a ton of props. There's so much fun in being able to just take 20 to 40 minutes, let's say, to do a run and slay the Spire and still enjoy it because you like what you're doing. You like to see what cards, what those trinkets that you can get to see how this run will go. Will you actually make it all the way to the end? And it's just a ton of fun to me. I still, when I'm waiting at like a doctor's office or something like that, I will boot it up on my phone and do a run because, you're always waiting for a doctor, right? So love this game from the beginning. There's plenty of other people here on YouTube who probably feel the same, that this is probably one of their most replayed games that they've ever played. Very excited for the second entry to come, whenever that went, maybe. But yeah, number 10, Slay the Spire. Number 9 is a classic, and I think it's always been in my top 10, and I actually replayed it this year, and that is Grandia for the PS1. Now, what I replayed this year was actually the remaster, and had a ton of fun. Tried to go for the platinum. I think I missed one thing during my run and screwed it up, but that's fine. I was just happy to revisit this kind of like a coming of age story, a grand adventure. It's just what you would define a RPG adventure game. And I don't think there's any other title that really did it as much justice as Grandia. One of the best combat systems ever made in RPGs, and still looks pretty good. Like all the characters, Justin, Fina, Sue, all them. Ton of fun. Horrible voice acting, especially. But it was kind of a little bit of part of its charm. This was supposed to be one of those games that, kind of took on the big leagues like Final Fantasy VII. And in my opinion, it is a better game than Final Fantasy VII. But absolutely love Grandia. Great old school game. Oh, and I can't forget to mention one hell of a soundtrack. So good. Number 8's going to be kind of a little bit of a cheat because it's a series of games. But all the stories tie to one another. Something I discovered quite a while ago on the PS3 was getting into what Xseed was kind of doing. And these little special editions that they were putting out reminded me of Working Designs a little bit. And was very excited that they were releasing this Falcom RPG coming to the West. Very popular, beloved in Japan. And took the risk of translating it, bringing it over here. And man, I fell in love with this series. And that is Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. I was familiar with the types of mechanics they were doing in this game. You know, I had played Persona 3 and Persona 4 and did the types of games where you did a school-like mechanic, and then you did adventures out and did your dungeons and stuff like that. But what this game did a little above in this aspect was over Persona was the political intrigue, the big world development, and the story they were telling of everything that was going on in this giant world, Erebonia. And it was so intriguing to me that I was growing with these teenagers and adults who were the teachers as they were developing in a military school, and this political story that was unraveling in the background, especially for the first game, and then how it developed into what was going on in the second game, and then how it was reaching further and further out and seeing more of this world in the third and fourth games. They're long games, but I didn't mind at all. I liked reading and learning more about this world and these characters, and seeing other characters from these different parts of the world and the different parts of the Trails of series, like the Crossbell games and the Sky games, all those that were all coming together, and you're seeing that there's events happening everywhere. Loved it. And another really cool thing about Trails of Cold Steel was the combat. The first game, you're like, man, this combat system is pretty good. But each game, the second game, the third game, the fourth game, the combat got better and better and better. It drew you in. You're like, man, this combat system is still good and still getting better. Lots of fun. Falcom is known for good soundtracks, so they had a very good matching soundtrack that was very enjoyable. And I just absolutely fell in love with these characters because they grew. You went in depth on each of these characters and what they were, who they were, their backgrounds, what they were growing into, and stuff like that. And that's one of the biggest things that draws me in. So yeah, I believe that number 8 or 7, let's see here, 8 is Trails of Cold Steel. Number 7 is a newer title, and one I was very shocked by on how good it was and how much it touched me kind of in an emotional manner, and that's God of War Ragnarok. I was very surprised and very much enjoyed what I got out of God of War 2018. Playing that at a time when, I was learning about being a parent and a father of a son. You kind of relate a little bit to what Kratos is experiencing with Atreus. But there was just, how do I put this? I'm not a huge fan of action games. I tend to get frustrated because I'm just not terribly good at them. But when it came to God of War, I actually jived with the combat in this game. You know, it's unusual for me. I usually skip these type of games because I'm just like, I'm not going to get far. I suck at these kind of games. But it worked out well with me. Then loving what I got out of 2018 and then getting God of War Ragnarok and experiencing even more story. You're now experiencing even more growth from Atreus and who he is and what he's meant to become. Kratos maturing as a father and moving on, and everything that's unraveling around him in this new Norse god area just moved me. The story, there were parts and moments in this game that really brought me to the point of tears of, wow, like I can't believe I experienced that. And on top of that, this game has arguably one of the best soundtracks in all video games. It's a stunning soundtrack. I still listen to it to this day. I have the vinyls. I listen to them. I torture my family and make them listen to it. But I can't get over how good God of War Ragnarok is. Game number 6 is something that's been on the list for forever. This is a game that I first experienced at a friend's house. I was not a kid who had current systems at the growing up. I had a generation back, which was perfectly fine. There was plenty of games to play. But I always wanted a Sega Saturn because of my friend. And it's more of my friend's brother, who became my own friend as well, who introduced me to a lot of cool games on the Sega Saturn. And one of those games was Dragon Force. This kind of was the game that introduced me into the strategy genre of RPGs. And something that also brought me into was like the anime aesthetic of some of these video games. I just thought it was so cool that you could control these armies and manage all of them through this giant map and move them around and make sure you plan properly with what type of troops you were using, and also get some very funny one-liners from the different characters when they see each other and stuff like that. I thought that was very fun, very intriguing, and super fantasy with what everything was going on. The varying different troops, the secret generals you can unlock. The combat was just so different. I never played anything like that, and I still think to this day we still haven't played anything like what Dragon Force put together, where you got your general in the field of battle and you have an army of troops that you control. You could send them in, you could flank them, you can put them in a protect formation to see if you can overcome the enemy's troops. And then every general had their own special abilities to help get them down. And your goal was to just, beat the enemy general, take them down to 0 HP or close to it. Sometimes they would retreat. Sometimes you would catch them. Sometimes you didn't. Some were hard, some were very difficult, or they had some high-end troops like dragons or zombies or something like that. It was just so fantasy and so kind of I love the character art, the anime looks to everything in the game. Building up your castles to make sure they can hold enough troops and stuff like that. You would plan kind of weeks in advance just to make sure that you're ready to go into an enemy kingdom and try to take their castle. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm sure it's not on everybody's top list, but for me, really bringing me into the strategy or tactical RPGs, it's one of the best, and it was my introduction. So there might be some nostalgia involved in this ranking, but I don't care. I love this game. All right, number 5 is a very recent game. This actually came out this year, and I had troubles of where I wanted to put this in the rankings because this game was damn near perfect in my opinion. And I think what kind of pushed it down from the top 3 was recency bias. I didn't want it to fall too far because I played it this year or something like that, but I don't know. I'm still think about it to this day, and I still talk about how good this game is today, and it came out earlier this year. Anyway, on to it, and that's Expedition 33. Most of you have probably already played this and know exactly what I'm talking about. A game that has really good storytelling, world building, a game that has cool characters, very well voice acted, a game that is gorgeous to look at, one of the best combat systems of any RPG, something that you got to just do what you wanted. You could customize your characters and play the way you wanted, something I love about games. Excellent soundtrack. And on top of all of that, brilliance, 9s and 10s on all those categories. This was a budget title. And it kind of showed you that a small team from France could put together a game that was superior to what all these AAA studios were releasing. And it just kind of blew your mind. I absolutely love this game. I played through it a couple times. I got my platinum because why the hell not? And I love the soundtrack. I pre-ordered the vinyl so I can make my family listen to this one too. I can't help but love hearing what other people tell me and what they think about this game, or the ways they built up their characters in order to beat the bosses, because there's so many different ways to do it just on how you build your characters. Wow, what a game. Number 4. This is a game that's been out for quite a while. I still play it to this day, and the creator is still adding content to the game, which is phenomenal. It speaks to the volume of how much this game is loved in the community. Let's get to it, and that's Stardew Valley. A indie game developed by one person, Eric Barone, also known as the Concerned Ape, made this game himself. It took him a few years to make. I don't know exactly, but he released the first version, and it was on Steam, and I heard people at work talking about it and how much they liked it. And I was like, I kind of like some of those little farm sim games a little bit, with what I played with, like Harvest Moon. And I heard a lot of good stuff. I was like, okay. Well, when they release something for like the PlayStation or something like that, I'll go ahead and pick it up. It wasn't but like a month later that I believe it was Fangamer. It was pretty sure. Anyway, they released a physical edition on the PS4. And I was like, all right, I'm going to order it. I played it. I was on a night shift while I was serving in the Air Force. And so, I had plenty of nights where I was just sitting at home, the rest of the family's sleeping, and I'm trying to maintain a schedule here. And I played Stardew Valley for like 6 to 8 hours a night on my days off, and just kept playing and loved what I was getting to do. It was just, here you go, here's a farm, have at it, do what you want, learn as you go. And I absolutely loved it. You didn't have to focus on farming if you didn't want to. If you wanted to just do farm animals, cool. Now you don't want to do that either. All right, go to the mines and get ore and stuff like that and level up, do combat and stuff. Cool. You want to go into town and just learn everything you can about the people of Stardew Valley? Yeah, do that too. You know what? Do you like a girl or a guy is a lot? Well, why don't you court them and marry them? They'll help you on your farm, and you might even have kids. It was just so cool, so relaxing that you just got to escape to your farm and kind of just do what you want, learn new things, go fishing. In later patches, why don't you just go to this other tropical island that has a volcano and do some stuff over there? I loved it. It just became one of the best games of all time. So there you have it. Number 4 on my top games of all time is Stardew Valley. Number 3 is a semi-recent game within the last couple of years. I try to talk this up to as many people as possible, and usually it catches on with who decides to play it. There are a couple times where the difficulty got to them a little bit, or maybe they just weren't jiving with the characters or how long the game is. Those are factors that are important to some people. But for me, this was a kind of a masterpiece. I loved every aspect of it, and that is Octopath Traveler 2. Playing the first Octopath Traveler on the Switch was a cool, unique experience. It was the first HD 2D game that Square Enix was putting out, and I loved the way it looked. Those HD sprites and those beautiful towns and environments that you wandered around were really cool. Very fun combat too, but it had some flaws. There wasn't a lot of story or mechanics to where the 8 different characters actually talked with one another or anything like that. Enjoyed it. It was a solid 7.5, 8 out of 10 game. So I enjoyed it enough that when they announced Octopath Traveler 2, I was like, yeah, I'm in. I'm going to play this, and they're releasing it on the PlayStation as well, so that's going to be cool. Maybe I could chase some trophies if I enjoy it enough. It came out, and I was just like, wow, this is more Octopath, but like they amped it up 10 times. They made sure that combat was even more fun, more engaging. You could do the secondary job classes to make it even more intriguing on how you're going to build up your characters. You want to take on the super secret, incredibly difficult end boss. Yeah, you can plan for that, but make sure you have one hell of a team ready. Oh, and by the way, you need to fight with all 8 members. Oh, crap. Sweet, that sounds like a challenge. That means I need to make sure every party member was built specifically to take on that super secret boss. I loved it so much. I liked how they increased how much the characters were more written out. They had little more backstory. They had banter between all the characters. They had actual individual chapters where they had a special, story with another character. They tried to add a lot of stuff to make this an even better game, and they did it masterfully. Another thing that I really have to applaud in this game was, it's very important, it's going to be a running trend for me, is the soundtrack. Another thing that this is like a top 5 soundtrack for me. That with God of War, Claire Obscure, Expedition 33. Killer soundtracks are important to me, because if I have to listen to your music a lot, it better be good. And this is one of those that's up there. This might be top 3 territory as far as soundtracks go. What a gorgeous game. What a fun combat. And oh man, what a killer soundtrack. Number 3, Octopath Traveler 2. Number 2 is a game that's been on the list since it came out. I still resonate with this game. I think fondly of my times through this game. I think I've beaten this game 4 times over the years, and that is Persona 5. I beat it twice for its original release, and I beat it twice again for the Royal release, which was just, the typical thing that Atlas does with their Persona games. We release another better version with a little more story in it. Cool. But I'm going to keep this down to this will encompass Royal as well, but I'll just mainly talk about the original release. This is the PS3 one, but I beat it on the PS4 because they simultaneously released this on PS3, which was cool. Anyway, coming from a person who's played a lot of Persona, because I played the original Persona 3 on the PS2 and Persona 4 on the PS2 as well, including the golden version on Vita. I thought this was just the same mechanics, but they, amped it up. They really played into the grit of the stories. What are each of these characters going through? How are we going to incorporate the heist theme into taking somebody's heart to change their mind because they're some kind of fucked up person, And it was so intriguing to me that you got to really go deep into knowing each and every one of these characters. I mean, you got to know their bad side. You got to know those dark demons that are haunting these people. And I was really attached to them. I was like going through these. I was like, these people are my friends. I like learning more about these. I like doing the school stuff. Getting my stats up. Through various tests and all that stuff, which was cool. And then going out and doing social links with these characters and learning even more about these characters. Becoming more of a friend with them. It was just so well done, and I loved every minute of it. And for a person to want to replay a 100+ hour game, not twice, but 4 times, that should speak volumes into how much somebody likes to dive into this world. Not only that, yet again, another killer soundtrack with this one. Absolutely love Persona 5. I'm not going to talk this one to death because I've done it many times. So, number 2 is Persona 5. All right, number 1, honestly shouldn't be a surprise to any of you who've been watching my channel for all these years. How long have I been on YouTube? Quite a long time. I might be getting up to 15 years. I've met a lot of cool people. Anyway, number 1 is BioShock. I won't talk this one up too much because I've done it so many times. I have a killer BioShock collection, figures and memorabilia. I've talked about the games so many times. But this is easy. What makes BioShock so great to me and why it's my favorite game of all time is how masterfully they put you into a world. The atmosphere in this game, cannot be beat, in my opinion. Some might argue some other games. That's cool. That's fine. But for me, being put into Rapture, going through and seeing what Rapture went through was just so stunning to me. That 1960s aesthetics, the music that was playing in the background, how people got addicted to Adam and turned them into these nasty little splicer monsters. And just, it was so cool to me that I would be able to add my own powers. I got to rock through this world. The first person aspect, or, how you saw the game in this atmosphere is bar none. It's the best that's ever been done. And I just truly love how they made the characters in the game, how you got to learn who Andrew Ryan was and why he built Rapture, what he was trying to achieve, and the obvious flaw that could come of it. Great idea, but, there's a reason why certain things are the way they are, because this kind of shit could happen. running into your first big daddy. You're like, what the hell? I'm running into this undersea guy guarding this little girl who's juiced up on drugs. But it's so cool. I can't believe it. And it was a game I was kind of skeptical on because, I'm not really a first-person shooter kind of guy. I find those games difficult. I don't have the hair trigger like I used to. But they made it so you can kind of plan the way you're going to fight. You might go into an area and die, and you're like, woof, that was tough. I need to approach this differently. I need to use some different plasmids and some different weapons. I might want to upgrade my weapons a different way. But man, the thing that really draws me and why it's my favorite game is how it develops a world that you get pulled into, and you're in it. You feel it, you hear it, all the ambient sounds, the water that leaks, you're under the ocean, you can hear those underwater creature noises. I don't know. It really excites me. I typically play this game once a year, and I love it every time. But yeah, my favorite game of all time is still BioShock. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought of my list. What is your list? What are your guys' top 5? And as always, thanks for watching.